All right, good evening and welcome to the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors meeting on August mid-2026. Call to order. I am calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. And roll call, Member Smith is present. Member Weiler, present. Member Travis is out due to illness. And Member
Present.
is approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on August 20th, 2026. I'll get a motion in a second. A motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Agenda is approved. Now we'll move to flag salute. We have a very special guest, Mr. Connor Clark. Please go ahead and join us. He's a 5th grade student at OPA SOC. And I'll turn it over to you to lead us. Should we stand?
Please stand up. Put your right hands over your heart and I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate Connor and his family for coming and being with us tonight for opening the meeting. All right, community input on closed session agenda items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed agenda session only. Closed session agenda only. A speaker may not relinquish your time to another person. Board Secretary, do we have any comments regarding the items listed on the closed?
No comments.
Thank you. All right. Closed session for discussion of possible action. A, public employee appointment 54957. B, public employee discipline dismissal release 54957. C, public employee performance evaluation, executive director, office managers 54957. D, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation 54956.9. Significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision B of section 54956.9 for cases. And E, conference with real property negotiators 54956.8. John McCormick, Middle School 22182, Barbara, Laguna Hills, California 92653. Saddleback Valley 22882, Lemont Drive, Forest, California 92630. South Orange County 23000, via Santa Maria, Mission Viejo, California 92691. That will move the meeting closed session at 6:03 p.m. All right, welcome back. We are reconvening to open session at 7:21 PM. Action taken in closed session. After consideration and upon recommendation from the executive director and our three chancellors, the board took action by a vote of 3-0 to recognize the following individuals with a We See You award for their recent outstanding performance and contributions to the organization. Kelly Fogarty from SOC. Mr. Rectine shared that Kelly is the glue that keeps everything at SOC running smoothly, from ordering, updating social media and planning, to greeting everyone with teal glove service. Then we have Kristen Riddell from Saddleback Valley. Mr. Wright submitted huge shout out to SB Office Manager Kristen Riddell for her stellar work leading our office operations all summer long. Her tireless coordination and steady leadership behind the scenes to make sure everyone was ready for the first day of school. And then finally, we have Serafina Vasquez from the middle school, submitted by Chancellor Weiss. Serafina is the model teammate. She is hardworking and resourceful and is always willing to pitch in when there's a need. She even came into work over the weekend for the first week of school just to be sure the first day would go off without a hitch. So that action was motioned by Member Freiler, seconded by Member Sood, and the votes were as follows. Member Sood, aye. Member Freiler, aye. And Member Smith, aye. So congratulations to our three ops managers. All right, we will move to community input. Members of the community may comment on items listed on the agenda or non-agendized items. A speaker may not relinquish their time to another person. Board Secretary, are there any comments on agenda or non-agendized items?
No comments.
Thank you. Items for presentation and discussion. The following items, presentation only, no action will be taken on these items. A, Oxford Preparatory Academy Board Policy Update first read. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Burdette.
Thank you, President Smith, members of the board, colleagues, and community members. So this evening, we are going to continue our process of our annual review of OPA board policies. So for those of you new to us, we do a first read where we introduce either new policies or revision to current policies. The board has an opportunity to make comments, make suggestions, and then we will bring those board policies back to the next next board meeting for a second read, where we will then make recommendations for board actions. So again, this is first readings, no actions are being recommended. We are just introducing first readings to the community and the board. So our first board policy that is up for review is a recommendation to adopt the new board policy 1340.1, the Public Records Act. This will replace an older version of this policy, Public Records. And this policy will establish our procedures for receiving, processing, and responding to Public Records Act requests, ensuring compliance with California law, and promoting transparency and public access to records. The next item that we are reviewing is again a new policy that is being recommended, policy 3580.1, record retention policy, which will then replace an older OPA policy 3580 records. And this establishes requirements for the retention, storage, and destruction of charter school records, including paper and electronic documents, to ensure our compliance with legal, operational, and regulatory requirements. And the final policy up for first read and discussion this evening is a new board policy that we currently do not have. So this would be new board policy 1325, corporate sponsorship. And this policy would allow us to establish guidelines for OPA to accept corporate sponsorships to provide financial or in-kind support, while also protecting the integrity of our educational programs and values. It will define appropriate recognition for sponsors, establish a clear process for reviewing and approving sponsorships, and again, making sure that we have clear criteria to make sure we are not approving any sponsorships that are inconsistent with the OPA mission or vision, or that we will require student or staff participation if they are not welcome. So at this time, I will open up the floor to the board for any input, discussion, recommendations, and questions on the three policies up for discussion, and we will go back and start with the Public Records Act. Questions on this one?
No questions.
And then the next one is the record retention policy recommendation. Any questions, recommendations, or suggestions?
Yeah, I have a couple items. Page 6 of the policy. We have the appendix. Under item B, contracts, there's vendor contracts and warranties with a time period, retention time period of 7 years. My understanding is that time period of 7 years starts when the contract is fulfilled or the warranty is expired. Should we have a footnote that states that that's when the time period starts?
I will follow up with our legal representation who has recommended the policy, and we'll get more details on that for you for the second read.
Okay, thank you. And then just a more general question. For our paper records, our electronic records, the ones that have a time period of 7 years for retention, how do we enforce that retention? Or what's the plan to enforce that?
So that is also something, so part of the policy is establishing the timeline of when we need to destroy records or maintain the records. And then internally within our central office, we will work with the board to establish our regulations in terms of how we are going to enforce that. So that would be something we'll bring back for second read.
Okay,
And we'll have some procedures that we will implement internally at each school site to ensure that we are tracking those items.
okay, perfect, thank you. No more comments from me.
No, we reviewed this in governance last year, so I've seen this before.
I have just submitted some like small typo edits. I assume we're.
So any small like editing would have been placed into that policy if it was nothing that was material for the board to discuss, but we can double check it, and then for second read, we'll ensure that those are all edited, but they should have been all incorporated into that draft.
Kind of compare and contrast what I sent in versus what was.
Yes, all of the recommendations for edits that were not material were incorporated.
Thank you.
And then I know that this was a brand new one that had not been reviewed through committee because of some requests for the community. So I'm sure that there might be some questions and input on this one.
I have one. So this is on the threshold for board review. I know this is a new policy, but after this year, maybe next year or periodically, I wonder if we can use, once we have historical data, to just reevaluate that threshold, see if that threshold needs to be higher or needs to be lower, just depending on, how many sponsorships we're getting.
First, are you talking about the $10,000?
Yes.
So I actually did ask that question just for context of YMC who provided us this draft policy. And that was their beginning threshold because we haven't had a baseline for donations to say for clear transparency. It wasn't supposed to align with fiscal policies for purchasing, but it was to be transparent with any dollar amount coming in. So that was their suggested starting point for board approval. But again, we can revise it, modify it. That is something that we can create our policy around.
So, are you done?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Where it says corporate sponsorship approval process. Executive director shall submit all proposed corporate sponsorships to the board of directors for review and approval. In accordance with this policy. I just wondered if we could be a little more clear, just because there is a threshold that comes to the board and there's a threshold that ED would be able to just approve. So I thought maybe replace it with something like all corporate sponsorships shall follow a review and approval process in accordance with the policy.
And then related to the $10,000, I was wondering if we cared about like cumulative applications for sponsorship and where those hit throughout like an annual cycle, or we wouldn't worry about that, because if we did care, right, because I think what if somebody did like 8,000 and then 11 or 3,000, right? That would be over, so would you, or the ED will just approve because they're separate applications under 10, or because, you know, they add up to over 10, they would somehow need to trigger some approval by the board? So I thought maybe we want to clarify one way or another our intent. Because to me, it's not clear. And then for the considerations for approval, I wanted to propose adding number 8 that says something to the effect of cause distraction from or interference with OPA's mission, values, or educational learning spaces. Because even though number 7 mentioned something about images, I didn't feel like it was broad enough to cover, like, if there could be conflict with another organization's like philosophy or their political affiliation. That was it for me.
My one question is if we could stipulate the 12 months follow our school year so that we're not tracking across multiple school years, so just for ease of management.
Any other questions on this? Alright, so we will bring back those recommendations and revisions to September board meeting for review. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, B, special education, budget development, and alternate or Mrs. Vandermeer.
All right, good evening, President, Board, Dr. Smith, members of the board, Executive Director, Maggie Burdette, and of course, all of our wonderful community members. This evening, we would like to share a study that we've been working on in regards to our what we call our Scholar Academy, which is our special education services to our students. And Chris Holmes, our Director of Student Services and Special Education, will be leading us in that presentation. And this is a general overview. We'll be taking notes regarding questions, and we will be getting back to you with any answers or any clarifications that you may need at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Tracy. And again, President Smith, members of the board, Ms. Burdette, thank you for having me here today to speak on Scholar Academy. OPA is a full inclusion program that has been in place for over a decade. And we work very hard in Scholar Academy to make sure that all of our Scholar Academy students are first seen as general education students who are served by an IEP. And each of them, as every other OPA student, deserves the right to realize their dreams and leave OPA as champions. I first will briefly review the history of special education to give a context to the services we provide and the mandate that we meet each year at Oxford Preparatory Academy for our Scholar Academy students. There are 3 major pieces of legislation in the last 30 years and in the history of special education that guide the work that we do. It started with IDEA and most importantly, the revision to IDEA in 1997 that placed a requirement and a mandate upon schools to not only make schools accessible to students of disabilities, but to make learning accessible to students with disabilities. In 2004, No Child Left Behind expanded on these requirements to make sure that all of our scholars, all of our special education students are assessed the same as all other general education students. And then in 2015, the Every Student Succeeds Act enhanced that requirement to make sure that every one of our students across our schools has their opportunity to engage in challenging learning and set goals for themselves. The way in which we are required then to meet these mandates from these 3 major pieces of legislation are outlined on the right side of our slide in talking about how we design for every student a specific individual education plan that is unique to the needs of the student. It provides for that student a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment possible for that student. The plan is developed in evaluation based on evaluations conducted by team members and in collaboration with parents, and we make sure to provide parents with their notice of legal rights. Historically, the number of special education students has increased since when IDEA was passed. And today, across the United States, there are an estimate of 8.2 million children who are being served by IEPs. In the past 2 years in the state of California, both the number of special education students and the percentage as a whole of the population of students has increased. As you can see on the right side of the slide, from 23-24 to 24-25, that time period. Reasons for this would be we are continuing to since the 70s, since IDEA was passed, they've expanded eligibility and also assessment has improved. And also we are seeing in special education at times, sometimes students are assessed for special education and even identified that may not have gone through the entire process prior to initial eligibility. So sometimes there's known as what is over-identification. And this is just kind of a summary of what was stated in the previous slide. So unless there's a question or want me to pause on this slide, I can move through it. At OPA, speaking to student enrollment, but specifically to Scholar Academy, the graph that you see here shows what our numbers are at the beginning of each year at each school and overall OPA-wide, and then at the end of the year. And one of the things you can see is we've seen an increase in the number of Scholar Academy students or special education students per year, and we see an increase each year. That's a combination of identifying students who have specific needs and students enrolling in our program over the course of the year through the lottery system. Overall, we've seen a 13% increase of students that started the year. We started the year with 19 more students than the 2 previous years at the same point. And at the end of this year, compared to the end of last year and the year before, we have an 8% increase in students. I need new glasses. This number, even in real time, this number was obtained towards the end of last year and some special education work that I did. And this number is ever growing, the cost to educate the average student in special education in the United States. So at this point, towards the end of last year, it was $25,406. That number is growing to $26,000, $27,000 on average. It depends on the state, it depends on the district, and depends on the composition of the population and the types of schools that serve those students. The combination of state funding and federal funding and does not meet the need of any LEA in the state of California or in the United States. And so we see, I think the term is encroachment, and that is growing and increasing year by year to the amount of money that is used now, pulled from LCFF or the general fund to meet the needs of our, which is appropriate. We work to meet the needs of our students, but that's something that we do see in the budgetary process. Fortunately, the state of California has made a commitment to try to close the gap that the federal government originally made a promise to try to close in 1975, but has not. Originally, the federal government said they would cover 40% of the funds, but they're at about 10% to 15%. Recently, the state of California passed legislation, approved a budget that increased the base grant or base rate for students from $990 approximately to $1,340. So they increased the special education budget this year by 43%. So you can see the trends in that rate starting in 2019 at $557 to 2023-24 to $887. It's increased, and just recently they increased it by quite a bit, and we welcome that. And I know Heidi and finance and our director of fiscal is very happy with that as well. So across the United States and across the state of California, here are the areas that are causing the increase in spending. Well, first, we do see the gap between the requirements and the funding requirements versus what actual costs and the funds that are actually provided by the state, the revenues. We are seeing, especially out of COVID, more complex needs in students with multiple eligibilities, the needs for more services directly provided, whether it's counseling services, OT services, and sometimes even behavioral support services. And this is across the state. Staffing is becoming a challenge for all schools in the state of California. And at that point, then we start to bring in our partners and our non-public agencies to fill those gaps. In OPA, this year, we are now at 5 ed specialists serving all 3 of our campuses. We have 2 education specialists serving the students at the middle school, and we have 3 education specialists split between the 2 elementary schools. We're very proud of the work that was done this summer by each of the chancellors. I do want to quickly point out the work of our chancellors in Scholar Academy and in special education and the great work that they do in supporting all of our students with special needs. And one of the things that happened for us late in this summer was we were able to bring on board 2 high-quality education specialists that are really bringing a focus, a knowledge, and an energy that's going to just help us enhance our program. We also have between 22 and 25 instructional assistants. And at any one point in time, we do have transition within that team. And during that transitionary period, we would utilize our non-public agency partners that we will talk about in a minute. What we're seeing an increase is increased service costs related to IEPs, which appropriately serve our teams. It's very impressive here at Oxford Preparatory Academy, the commitment and dedication by the teams to work meticulously to identify the needs of each student. And for lack of a better term, we spare no expense when it's appropriate to the needs of our students. We also sometimes, even though we run an incredible full inclusion program, there are times where to meet the standards under FAPE, we meet the needs of students through placing them in non-public school, and that adds to our additional costs. So we can see here in the past 3 budget cycles, our costs related specifically to non-public agencies and non-public schools have gone from $468,000 to last year approximately $924,000. We've seen, as we shared in the previous slide, an increase in the number of students who have initial needs presented to us that we provide support to, complex IEPs, and non-public school placements. Another thing that started around beginning of last year was we started implementing what's called a diagnostic placement. And the diagnostic placement and legal advice from our IMC, our representatives there, is that since a child is coming from an alternative setting, we try to create a plan immediately that meets the needs of the child in the general education full inclusion setting. So we've seen there in those periods of time where we're supporting those students that we've seen additional costs through non-public agencies to support those students. Next year, our projection, I'll tell you, I don't think that we will actually reach this projection, but we wanted to make sure to take into consideration all contingencies. One of the things, and only in the past month, that's benefited us is the hard work of our chancellors, as I referenced previously, in bringing on these 2 additional ed specialists. And we're very excited what they bring to the team. That is going to allow us in many areas, we serve our Oxford Preparatory Scholar Academy students. It's going to enhance our program, and it's going to reduce our costs. Our 3-year plan. So we want to maximize our internal hiring because we believe OPA staff serves OPA students best. So with 5 ed specialists now on board, one of the best school psychologist team you will come across in any district, and the retention and the new hires we have in our instructional aid positions, we're very confident that our internal team is now robust and it's going to be in a place to best serve our students. We also want to expand the professional development related to serving special education students, both in support of our Scholar Academy team, but has been brought up by multiple administrators is requests made by our general education staff who do such a wonderful job with our Scholar kids and all the kids to be included in some of those trainings so they can have a better understanding of how to, in certain situations and across the board, support our Scholar Academy students. And finally, we are very interested in building a pilot for co-teaching so that we can see at each one of our sites at least one partnership that some of our Scholar teachers or OPA teachers would be willing to volunteer for, to see if we can develop a co-teaching model in specific areas for specific students. And that's our discussion today, and welcome any questions.
First of all, thank you. As a previous OPA parent with a child who went through Scholar Academy, I appreciate just presenting this knowledge for further understanding for staff and families about all that we do here. That's so wonderful. And I'm really excited for much of your 3-year plan, especially the co-teaching. I think that that will be a valuable resource. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that the chancellors and the Scholar Academy staff and the school psychologists and everyone that takes part in Scholar Academy is always so helpful for everyone in need. And you can see that in the numbers and how we make a solid effort to support all of our students all of the time.
Thank you.
I have sort of a random question, but ditto the thank you. This was a great overview and glimpse into the services we're providing and how this is a priority for our organization. So my question is, just thinking about the rising costs, and this is a statewide issue, nationwide, I think, right? Wondering about our opportunity to collaborate and partner with others to advocate for more funding.
Absolutely. And one of the recommendations that come from our SELPA and also even in conversations I've had elsewhere is to see if we can evaluate local colleagues and partners that we might be able to then join forces in ways to demonstrate that advocacy and also even potentially collaborate on ideas that can better enhance our program. But for sure, I know there are many times where administrators, excuse me, and teams from schools and LEAs visit local leadership and even visit Sacramento to advocate for the needs of students.
Any other questions, comments?
No, that's it. Yeah, I'd like to echo as well. It really shows, the data shows, truly that, there isn't, you don't spare any expenses when it comes to, the kids and the, level of service that, is provided through the program. And I think it's amazing. Really good to see.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to board member recruitment update, and I'm back to you, Ms. Fredette.
Thank you again. I'd just like to provide a quick update on our board member recruitment. As you are aware, we did begin recruitment in March to fill one vacancy, and we're very pleased to welcome Mr. Sood as part of our team. So that vacancy was successfully filled. Unfortunately, a second vacancy did arise in June. So we are now continuing that recruitment process to fill our 5th board member seat. And our board subcommittee is now in the final rounds of completing the process. And we are still pulling from our existing March recruitment pool. So again, some of the desired qualifications we were looking at, just as a quick overview, is finance or accounting, business leadership, human resources, governance, educational leadership, and really just understanding a diverse operations of a school system. And we also were looking at representation, making sure we have broad representation of all of our OPA school sites, encouraging community members not currently affiliated with OPA, diverse professional experience, and strong governance and strategic perspective. So where we are at right now is we are continuing with board member recruitment interviews. Our subcommittee is actually interviewing tomorrow, August 21st. And then our hope is that we will be able to bring candidates forward for public interview, board action, and potential appointment at our September 10th board meeting. Any questions from our board currently? All right, so thank you again, and we're excited to hopefully fill our next position.
Thank you. Okay, items for discussion and action. A, board policy 3515.1, school site camera surveillance. This is second read. May I get a motion to approve in a second?
All motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? So moved. All right, item B, board policy 1250.1, classroom and school volunteer visitation and removal. This is also second read. May I get a motion to approve and a second?
No motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? So moved. Item C, board policy 1313, community code of conduct, second read. May I get a motion to approve and a second?
No motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? So moved. And item D, memorandum of understanding with Wellness Prevention Center. And I believe we are going to have a presentation on this. All right, so
I'm going to welcome our Director of Student Services up to the mic to give an overview of this proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, once again, and members of the board. I'm here to speak briefly on a proposal to approve a memorandum of understanding between Oxford Preparatory Academy and the Wellness and Prevention Center from San Juan Capistrano. We know that middle school is hard for students. There's a tremendous transition from a self-contained classroom to 7 separate classes, a different campus with older students who are approaching high school age, the challenges of social needs, changing expectations, and disappointments that happen when we get to teenage years. At OPA, we do a tremendous job with our PBIS and MTSS programs at the middle school, as well as supporting both our Tier 1 students, which is all of our students, through the Tier 1 PBIS program and the supports provided by our counseling team, the activities program, and our administrators and staff, and the wonderful relationships that exist between teachers and students. Some of our students, we find, need a little bit more support. And in those areas, we have put in some interventions in place that we think are going to be very effective in the short term, are proving to be effective for those students who need a little bit of support and a little bit of redirection. The area that became evident towards the beginning of last year at the middle school campus and was voiced in a very intelligent and passionate way by the chancellor there, Dr. Greg Wise, was we need something at the Tier 3 level for our students, something that some schools might call a wellness center or other types of supports that exist for that smaller group of students that need something a little bit more individualized and sometimes in a more emergent way. So Dr. Wise, Counselor Kendall Ween, and myself, we all canvassed the Orange County area to try to find potential providers that could provide support in some way with this. And then at the same time, Oxford Preparatory Academy had qualified for the Children Youth Behavioral Health Initiative, which would allow us in the short term to finance a pilot in evaluating a Tier 3 program. The Wellness and Prevention Center is a tremendous opportunity, and it's a organization that is very experienced with meeting the needs of children in the school setting that are experiencing concerns when it comes to their social emotional well-being. So in working with the Wellness and Prevention Center, they will provide us 1 day a week, someone to man what you might call a wellness center, but more importantly, to provide Tier 3 support for students identified through our MTSS PBIS team and recommended after parental permission. We need parental consent in order for them to participate in this program for a short-term basis, while that short-term basis would be related to focusing on the behavior at the school site and also through the other supports that exist, whether it's through the child's and the family's own healthcare, but also the other support that we have in place known as Care Solace, where we can get online connection between students and therapists for more long-term support. We want to put in place something that will meet the needs of students who are experiencing escalation on the campus to meet those short-term needs, whether it's a moment on campus at the time, or they've been identified through our MTSS system as most likely to benefit from a one-on-one support short series of intervention meetings with a clinician who is experienced in mental health and mental wellness. So the process would work this way. We have students that we track in our data systems that see if there are behaviors, we track where those behaviors are located, we track the level of those behaviors and the rate of those behaviors. If the MTSS team at the school and the counselor in particular believes that this child would benefit in the immediacy and support from a clinician, then parents are contacted. And if the parents are on board with it and the child need to be on board with it as well, of course, then that referral is made. We want to maintain a separation between the work that that person does and the rest of the work happening to support student behavior and student wellness as a whole at the campus. So the team from the school refers to this contracted agent who works specifically for OPA on that campus in a designated setting. Because what we want students to feel is that their needs are important to us and we want all of them to succeed and to be able to engage on the campus in a healthy way. And so it's that top of the tier, top of the pyramid, which is typically at any point in time a very small group of students. In conversations with the director of the Wellness and Prevention Center, this person right now, 1 day a week, would be able to support anywhere between 7 and 10 students at any one point in time. And fortunately for us as well, our counselor, Kendall Ween, is very experienced with this type of model. And so we've been in between Dr. Wise, the counselor, and myself, we've been in constant communication and collaboration, and they are really prepared to take advantage of this resource if the board approves it. The cost to us this year for the program that I've outlined is $21,500. We can always, if we see benefit from it, but we also see an increased need, we can always circle back and bring that to you and let you evaluate if we want to increase that service. Right now, we are funding for this year the entire cost of program under the CYBHI capacity grant, which we applied for as a cohort and with the Orange County Department of Education. And the point of that grant is to provide us with funds to build a system to allow us then to start utilizing the CYBHI billing that exists. So where we provide mental health services to meet the needs of our students, we can then bill for those services to the state of California. And the point of this, obviously, and always is what is best for OPA kids. And so in parallel, in conjunction with this service we're providing, we will be going through a cohort model this year to make sure that we are in place if we think that it'll serve OPA students to build the state of California for services moving forward at the end of the year. So there were a few questions. I'll ask you first, but I also have a few FAQs at the end of the slideshow if you want. Okay. Is this a counselor? So this is not a counselor. This is a licensed clinician, well, not fully licensed, but they are a clinician who is working through their 3,000 hours in order to become fully licensed, and they are supervised by a fully licensed clinician. The person who would be assigned to OPA, if the board so approves, has been doing this for 3 years, and they are approaching finishing that part of their path to becoming a fully licensed clinician. So we feel very fortunate that the Wellness and Prevention Center is looking to assign this person to us if we are ready to move forward. We wanted to start with 1 day a week based on the conversations that we've had with the team at the middle school and the team at the Wellness and Prevention Center. Both feel like that's a good starting point. And if need arises, if evidence shows that there's an increased need, we will come back and look to address that. We won't serve any IEP minutes. However, all students are made available of this service if in need. The only time that this might not be the right option for a student would be if they have specific counseling services written into their IEP. So they are already receiving counseling services. And at this point in time, there's no charge either to any of our families for this service on our campus. And this year is the pilot to develop the model. Moving forward, we do want to get to a place where we, at some point in time, based on this, we can actually recoup service fees from the state. Any questions?
I have one more additional question. First of all, thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate that. As far as costs go, if we're building that system to recoup costs from the state, this is why we would be voluntarily collecting parents' insurance, correct?
That I can't speak to directly. I don't believe so.
I was curious if the policy we talked about last is correlated to this contract.
I have to get back to you on that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Well, my follow-up question to that, so you're prepared, would be then, if they are correlated, how then are costs applied to that insurance and do they impact parents?
I would actually say when it comes to CYBHI, we're not billing parents insurance, we're billing Medi-Cal.
Okay,
So basically the state is, and I will come back with better details to this, but in a general sense, I've gone to 3 trainings on this. In a general sense, the state is saying, if you provide these services and you do it after they've been identified by a system, you can charge the state.
okay. Great. Thank you.
I have a more practical question. Just wondered about the MOU and one, has it been compared to our, sorry, facility use agreement? Just to make sure there's no conflict.
We plan on doing that. We had not yet, but we want to make sure to do that so that there is no conflict and we can make any changes to the MOU to make sure that there is no conflict. I would say that right now, our understanding, but we will make sure the language matches appropriately. Our understanding is that it's similar to some of the counseling services that are already provided by our non-public agencies for special education students. They work for us, they serve our students, and we assign them a space, but we will make sure of that. And I spoke tonight with the director, Susan Parmalee, and she's experienced with this and working with other districts locally, and she's open to making any changes to the language we need to make so that it suits our needs.
So my other question was, I'm wondering just about being extra explicit in the MOU about which students and families, they will be serving on our premises
We address.
because,
Yeah,
right, so I just had a suggestion that in 2 areas, we add the language in front of where it says children and families, that it says enrolled OPA children and families.
yeah.
Just because this is a broader community service provider, I just want clarity.
No, I think that's a very good idea. Yeah, we
Okay.
will definitely make sure of that.
And then in terms of what we're approving in this item, I wonder if we do a motion. We need to be specific that we're approving. I saw this is a 3-year MOU, but a not to exceed amount for the 21,500, which is for the first year.
Correct.
Right, so I'm just thinking being really specific.
No,
The
and
21,000 isn't for the 3 years, right?
no, and we can go back and speak to that as well. We'll make that correction. We do that quite often in these, so we can let them.
And I'm fine with it, I just wanna make sure we get on the record. That we're approving a 3-year MOU, but with the not to exceed amount that's for the first year, that's all. There's no problem with it, the
Okay.
way it's.
That would be my recommendation, make the motion to approve
Mhm.
and just clarify that this is the not to exceed amount for fiscal year 26-27.
So I'm thinking we're gonna have a motion with that, also. To approve based on the update to specify it's for enrolled OPA students and families. And based on ensuring there's no conflict with our current facilities use policy. Which I don't anticipate there is, but there's some specifics in there, I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure
Absolutely.
the MOU matches, right?
For
So
sure.
we can be successful in this endeavor.
Yeah.
So, does anyone wanna venture with that motion? And all those details?
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Wellness Prevention Center with a not to exceed amount of $25,000.
Let's still. do the same amount.
$21,500. Based on an update to specify that it's for OPA students and families, and that it does not conflict with our current facilities use agreement.
Did you,
This.
yeah, can you read?
I'm sorry, with a not to exceed amount of $21,500 for the fiscal year of 26-27.
Are we all clear on the motion?
Do you need me to repeat it?
I'm clear.
Yes,
Oh,
okay.
You good, Cecily? Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna second the motion. Any further discussion? All right, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, good job.
Thank you.
Right, so next we have compensation comparability study for the chief academic officer. Um. Let's see. All right, and I'm sharing a summary of the comparability study done for the chief academic officer position prior to posting the position. To begin, it is important to note that IRS rules strictly require fair and reasonable compensation for nonprofit executives. When evaluating reasonableness, the IRS considers compensation broadly. This means they look not only at base salary, but also at total value of non-fixed compensation, such as incentives or bonuses and all associated benefits. To ensure full compliance, we conducted a comprehensive review and comparison of total compensation levels received by educational leaders across a sampling of 4 charter schools and 1 public school in Southern California. Our data sourcing and methodology were structured as follows. Compensation figures were pulled directly from the state controller's office and in the Internal Revenue Service for the 2022-2024 calendar fiscal years, which represents the most recent publicly available data. Student enrollment figures were pulled from the fiscal year 2025-26 California School Dashboard. This study specifically compared salary packages of public school leaders at institutions similar in size and scope to OPA. The 5 surveyed schools have an average population of approximately 1,908 students. Based on the sampled educational leaders, the base salary range is $146,206 to $286,707. The average base salary is $200,114,119. Sorry. It's a lot of numbers, but okay. As a final note, it is standard for salaries to range within these boundaries based on a variety of operational factors. These typically include unique constraints, tenure at the school, student population size, staff headcount, and the regional location of the charter school itself. With that, I move to approve the compensation comparability study, and may I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All, any noes? And any abstentions? And actually, so that was item, let's redo it, or, because that was the oral report.
Oh.
So we just approved the oral report, item F.
Okay.
Does that work for everyone? That applies to item F. Sure. Okay, so we'll back up now to item E, compensation comparability study for chief academic officer. This is where we're approving the actual study itself. May I get a motion in a second?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any noes? Any abs- Great, we're good.
Sorry,
Sorry,
I was gonna get.
I flipped them. Okay. Okay, so now we're to the approval of chief academic officer employment contract. May I please get a motion and a second?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. And I'll turn over this to that. Want to do an introduction or?
I'll wait till the board does their formal vote and approval, and then we will be happy to make formal introductions.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Any other questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, welcome to our new chief academic officer. And I will turn over to Mrs. Burdette to introduce.
I am very pleased to announce the appointment of Nicole Costigan. So I would love to have you come up and say a few words. So congratulations.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Board President Smith, board members, Executive Director Burdette, and community and guests. My name is Opal Costigan, and I'm thrilled to be coming and joining this amazing team at OPA. I really am looking forward to serving and leading the support around OPA and the amazing mission and vision. I think my contributions to continue the success you're already having is at the forefront of my mind, and I'm just excited to actually get started and get it rolling. So thank you for allowing me to be here with you this evening. I'm excited to look forward to meeting and connecting with everyone.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, items for consent, items listed on consent are voted on by the board, one motion, one vote. No discussion of the items prior to the vote, unless a member of the board or staff requests specific items to be pulled from consent. Before we make a motion, would any member like to pull an item? Okay, hearing none. May I then get a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, consent passes. Executive Director report, this is for that.
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over first to Mr. McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Burdette, members of the board. So at this time, we are. Oh.
Yeah, Yes.
Okay. Just first of all, I'd like to say just a wonderful start to the school year, and I'm very encouraged by our early enrollment numbers. So seeing the enrollment at each one of the school sites coming in higher than what we anticipated is really exciting. And I think just a testament to the chancellors and all of the support staff, everybody doing the work to just make our campuses a place where our students and families want to be. And so encouraged by that, also very encouraged by just seeing as I've been observing all the operations, taking more of a trying to observe and see where our systems are at. I think there's a lot of good things that we can do over the course of this next school year, and so I'm very excited about the work, and yeah, just grateful to be here with you.
All right, oh, sorry. President of the board, Dr. Smith, and board members and chief executive director, Maggie Burdette, and community members. I just want to say that 2026 has started off in the area of curriculum instruction with a huge bang. We have an amazing theme this year that is leading with vision and precision. And it's knowing when to zoom in and when to zoom out in regards to the tasks and the areas that we need to work with in preparing an educational program that's meeting all of our students' needs. We had an amazing week of welcome where for 5 days we did intensive professional development focused around this theme. And we talked about intensely OPA's traditions. We talked about the restructuring of the organizational chart and how each and every one of us are key members of that team and need to support everything that involves the planning of running schools and making sure that from the curriculum to the custodial support to the lunches is all happening in a smooth way. And then we are very excited to kick off our 3-year plan for lesson design through the Guiding Coalitions model. And we've had Greg Wise, the famous author of Teach Fast, who's been with us not only for the first 3 days of our professional development during the WOW week, but he's also been here for the last 2 days, and we've actually been doing lesson design modeling and deconstructing lessons and walking through classrooms and then doing debriefs, which has been very, very exciting. So we're super well planned out and ready for Nicole to step right in.
I'm taking notes right now.
All right, Angie. Oh, and Jean, I'm sorry. Yes,
Greg was participating. Jean was leading.
yes, I apologize.
Oh, thank you. All right, so again, I'd just like to shout out Tracy Vanderheyden and Deirdre Didion, who have been really instrumental in leading the week of welcome. We're sad to see Tracy leave us, but I know she'll be here to support in any capacity that we need her in the future. But again, welcome to Nicole for joining our team. I also want to big shout out to John. He jumped in. Thank you to Shireen if she's listening somewhere in the universe. Shireen Smith exited as our interim COO and was so instrumental in transitioning John in, but he's really just been part of the team and is helping get all of our procedures and protocols and processes working efficiently and effectively. I'd also like to just welcome briefly Jamila from Charter Impact. She's joining us for our special board meeting this weekend, but thank you for coming all the way out here and all the work that Charter Impact has done in the last few months to help us, again, make sure our processes were efficient. And to our community members, we look forward to seeing everyone at university orientations next week. Again, a reminder, Tuesday for the middle school, Wednesday for Saddleback Valley, and Thursday for South Orange County. I look forward to meeting you and seeing you there. And one final note, just to share with the board and our community members, we were just notified with a big career technical education incentive grant for our middle school. It's our third year we've been granted this award. It's for $89,000, and it is very rare that a single standing middle school receives this award. It's usually allocated to large districts. So congratulations again to our middle school. And again, moving forward, we look forward to all of our recognitions and amazing things that are going to happen in the 26-27 school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Board of Directors reports. You know, I thought maybe I go first tonight, because usually everything's been said and it's on repeat, but then Mrs. Burdette said half of what I was gonna say, so still a bit of repetitive, but here we go. Sorry. No, sorry, I think it's good, great minds, right? This has been a busy last month. And I participate in finance committee where we do our usual review of financials, we look at the registers and our PO listing. We also had some interesting and exciting conversation around potential opportunities for optimizing our assets. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Shireen Smith, our interim CBO, who brought so much expertise and talent to our team. And wish her the best as she gets back into retirement. And then similarly, thank you to Mrs. Tracy Vanderheyden. You have been willing to jump in wherever we need you for SOC and then the central office, and appreciate your expertise and flexibility, and definitely a valuable asset that we hope to still see around in one way or another in the future. And then I also want to thank everyone who's contributed to the amazing beginning of the school year. I had the honor to help kick off the week of welcome with our staff. And it was really just awesome to see all the excitement and care that's being given to entering this new school year. It left me feeling just very inspired and optimistic for what we're about to achieve. I also wanted to say thank you to our heroes across our organization. Who not only provide the top tier educational environments for students, but they truly are prepared and serve as a form of first responders in a variety of incidents that can occur in school setting. I just want to say thank you in that regard as well. And then finally, I want to share, I was very pleased to be accommodated in my request to help at a school drop off at all 3 sites. So I spent a morning at each site. I felt doing the most basic level of what we're about, and that's serving students. And it was just, again, a great honor, and opportunity for me to be out in that space and see our students and interact with our families in that capacity. So again, thank you to everyone, and I'm really excited for this new school year. And I'll turn it over to Member Fryland.
I want to say thank you to everyone who helped make the first week such a success, from the office staff to teachers, admin, central office, honor societies, and even families. Thank you for making it special for the students and keeping up OPA traditions of teal donuts and fun, exciting assemblies that get the students pumped up for the year. Thank you again to the office managers for being in the heart of OPA and making everything happen. It's wonderful to recognize you for the hard work you guys are all doing. Thank you to Ms. Vanderhayden for stepping in and helping us continue to be the wonderful success that we are, and we appreciate having you on our team. So we will miss you. Congrats to the middle school for their CTE grant. That's wonderful, very exciting. I'm sure that Ms. Kolk is going to be, and all of the CTE team is going to be very excited about having those funds. Welcome to Ms. Costigan. I had the opportunity to sit on the CAO panel. And it was wonderful to see all the great candidates, and I'm confident that Ms. Costigan will be a wonderful addition to our OPA family. And so I'm very excited to see what you're gonna do, and I'm happy to have someone that has wonderful energy and is pumped up for our organization. And I also got to attend the tail end of Mr. Recteen's Chancellor Chat on the first day, which was wonderful to see so many families here that were excited for school and looking to get involved. And I stayed for the Honor Society meeting, and hearing all the wonderful things planned for this year was very exciting. I also got to attend the middle school welcome back assembly, which was really fascinating because it was mostly run by the students, and just seeing them be excited being at school, it was so wonderful. And so just a reminder to families if they're watching that SV and SOC both have book fair, so come buy books, support the schools, and I'm excited for what the rest of the school year looks like. Member Sue?
Yeah, so I apologize in advance. Some of this will be repetitive, but I'd like to welcome Ms. Costigan. Look forward to working with you. And thank you, Ms. Vanderhayden. Although brief, it was a pleasure working with you. I can tell that my fellow board members really appreciated working with you. This last month, I think I've just been continuing to learn about OPA, observing the school. John, I know how you feel. And this first week and a half has been really eye-opening. I can really see the excitement, the chaos in a good way, the hustle and bustle of the campuses. I've dropped off my daughter twice now. So my wife usually does the drop-offs, but I've dropped her off twice, and it's pretty exciting to see how excited she gets going to school, meeting the teachers, just being excited about wearing the uniforms. So it's been good to see that. And the teachers, the staff, everyone have been so welcoming, and it's really made the transition very seamless. And I also want to acknowledge, so the teachers, the staff, leadership, everybody. I know how much hard work goes into, just behind the scenes work to make sure that the school year starts off smoothly. So I acknowledge that, I recognize that, and I just want to thank everyone.
Thank you. All right, I am pleased to share that we do not need to recess to close session, so we will move to adjournment. May I get a motion and a second?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, a meeting is adjourned at 8:25 PM. Thank you.